Hi, and welcome to our Intentional Wealth update for the week of August 23rd, 2021. We're heading into the last official week of summer before school starts for a lot of people next week. Today, we're going to talk about simplicity and the conflict between complexity, simplicity, and investing. So we had a couple of articles that we wanted to share from the last few weeks, some things that popped up and this theme kept coming out. We'll start with an article from Alpha Architects, just down the road from us in Villanova. Cody, they cited some studies that said humans naturally drift toward complexity away from simplicity, and what's the impact of that?
Yeah, so one of the main questions that they were asking as the article went through was, when solving problems, do humans prefer to add components, subtract components, or stay indifferent? And the main result was everyone strongly favors adding components to try to solve a problem.
Right. So they see it in regulation, in corporations, in sports leagues, investing, all facets of life. Given the choice of adding more or taking it away, we add more stuff. What have you seen, Katie, when it comes to the financial complexity and people's tendency to accumulate rather than decumulate?
We see that all the time. We hear stories, and we often answer the question for clients, like, isn't there something else, or is it really that simple? I feel like I'm missing something. And I do wonder if it's our own mindset to think, if the solution's that simple, I should have thought of it, so it can't be that simple. It must be more complex than that. And so they kind of seek out that complexity almost as validation.
Yep. It's hard work too. There's this great, I think it's a quote from Mark Twain, but he once said, "I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one." Because it takes time to fight away that stuff and to get to a simple solution, right?
To a degree, we're guilty of it too. I mean, how many times do we prepare for a meeting, or we prepare a financial plan, and we look up, we have 100 pages of, a planning document, say, all right, how do we distill it down? Keep it simple. And I think that we constantly strive for that as well, but really identifying the nuggets and the, the easy pieces.
I think we always get envious sometimes of the people in a room. If you're in a group discussion, there's that person who can cut to the chase and just in a couple of words, get right to the point. So I think that's aspirational for us as advisors, but if you're an investor, just catching yourself from time to time, it's an awareness thing. Cody, there was another article that you found in the Wall Street Journal related to a Pennsylvania organization and their complicated investing strategy. How did that tie in?
Yeah, so this was actually going over wishful thinking in the world without yield. And it was going over how the Peasers pension has had to invest a lot more into some of the private equity, venture capital, and hedge fund positions. Almost 40% of their assets are in those positions, but yet they still rank in the bottom 30% of the pension funds throughout the United States. So we're just going over how even adding all the complexity of the hedge funds, venture capital, private equity doesn't exactly mean you're going to get greater returns going forward.
Yeah, so this is the Pennsylvania Teachers Pension, and it's an organization that has a board and trustees and consultants and investment managers, and there are layers upon layers of smart people trying to do everything they can, and they're underperforming. They ranked 90 something out of 144 pensions, and just their performance has been not good. So, Katie, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, you and I have both worked for or observers of institutional funds, and sometimes the less is more applies here too.
Yes, because oftentimes when you reach for that complexity, or you put those layers upon layers on, you're increasing your costs. Sometimes you're limiting your access. You're limiting your visibility, because there's so many private equity opportunities. And granted, there can be success in those areas, but you don't always have the clarity on an ongoing basis to know, all right, is it working? Is it not working? And so it makes decision-making that much more challenging as well.
And a lot of the complexity appeals to our senses. It feels glamorous, like, oh my gosh, I get to do something special. And there's a quote in the article where it says, "While it's flattering to join the exclusive world of private wealth management, just remember to ask, if funds with tens of billions in assets don't earn superior returns this way, why should I believe anyone who says that I can?" Right? It's just, it feels like we're getting something. We've heard that question before. Shouldn't I be doing something more special? Isn't there something more interesting than stocks and bonds? if there's something more effective, all right, let's think about it. If it's something more complex or just, window dressing,
Yeah.
The last article that we found was from a blog called The White Coat Investor, and it's called The Majesty of Simplicity. And in it, he talks about being sold something recently. And this guy's a doctor who blogs about investing. And someone tried to approach him with a whole life insurance policy and laid out all these features and benefits and everything else. And when he kind of pushed back a little bit, he was accused of, quote, not being sophisticated. And he just kind of stepped back and said, how many times are sophisticated things what is sold to us, right? And he contrasts that with, some of the most effective things in finance, things like the benefits of a Roth IRA or term insurance. They're simple enough to be explained by an elementary student. It just makes sense. It's not bottled up in a huge prospectus. Katie, he talks a little bit about looking up and saying, how much time do you invest? How much energy do you expend on complexity? Like, we've talked a lot about how to keep people focused on the things that matter in life. And if you're kind of getting bogged down in all this, but he says, additional complexity generally results in more opportunity costs for your time, more taxes, more advisory fees, and you just end up putting more energy into it than it really requires. And it doesn't allow you to focus on living your life, right? Which is the whole point of this, is to get past that. What do you think?
Yeah. And we have often, we talk about that internally. We talk about that with our clients. Our goal is to help build that confidence, give you awareness of what's going on over here, but then for you to be able to kind of safely put that aside and say, okay, I have the plan, it's working. Now I can focus on what I want to focus on. I think that is so important, to assign the right level of attention, to know and to be confident and comfortable, but then to safely be able to set it aside. And I think if things are so complex and you're constantly trying to figure it out and figure out the moving pieces, then you miss out on the ability to set it aside.
Yep. And it turns into a tap dance with you and your advisor. Like, if everyone's trying to understand the complexity and sell more complexity, then you never get there. I think if everyone's chasing towards simplicity, there's a lot of alignment in that. So, if you have questions about simplicity or how to better simplify your financial life, always bring to the table questions that you might have. Our team's always here to help you out. So hope you enjoy the last weekend of summer, and we will catch up with you soon.